Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you may be. My name is Marin Scheib, Marketing Specialist with QAD DynaSys, and today I'm delighted to bring you NeXt, an hour-long thought stream covering supply chain challenges, root causes, and best practices for optimizing digital supply chain planning, efficiency, and agility. Our topic today is the future of digital supply chains. What does it mean for a supply chain to be agile, connected, and sustainable? We will hear from QAD DynaSys supply chain experts and customers on why this is important. At the end of the conference, a diagnostic tool will be made available to help you assess where your digital supply chain capabilities stand today and where to prioritize improvements in the future. Before we start, I would like to share this slide with you covering our safe harbor statement. What it really means is that we are going to show you some amazing technologies that QAD DynaSys is currently working on. Some of them are available today, and some of them are still under development. To further explore today's topics, we have two QAD DynaSys experts with us, Ariel Weil and Sean Phillips. Hi, gentlemen. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Maureen.
Hey, Maureen. Great to be here.
I'm joined first by Ariel, the president of QAD DynaSys, the Digital Supply Chain Planning Division of QAD. He oversees all aspects of QAD DynaSys and has dedicated his career to supply chain planning. His professional interests lie in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and he's extremely passionate about technology. Outside of work, he is very active within several charitable and educational organizations. Also with me is Sean, the QAD DynaSys product director. He's responsible for creating product strategies and go-to-market enablement. Sean has had a comprehensive career spanning countries, roles, and industries. While he originally hails from Australia and spent some time in Germany, he has called Paris home for the last 10 years. Sean, my first question is for you. As product director, how would you define digital supply chains?
Maureen, as you know, recent years have brought us the digitization of everything, the way we shop, the way we travel. And supply chain, it's no different. But in fact, supply chain has led the manufacturing world down their journey of digital transformation. Digital supply chain planning is basically the effective and appropriate application of digital technology to supply chain management and the associated decision making. But in reality, it's a lot more than that. Digital supply chains, they think, they act differently. They have different inputs, they have different outputs, they have different stakeholders, and they require different business processes. Let me elaborate. Digital supply chain planning is highly connected to internal and external systems and data sources. It is extremely responsive due to its ability to process real-time feeds of demand and supply signals and rapidly anticipate risks and opportunities. Digital supply chain planning is highly collaborative and inclusive. In a digital supply chain, the collaboration transcends the typical or traditional boundaries of functional silos and even business entities. But most importantly, digital supply chain planning is highly intelligent. It harnesses data and uses that data to extract revelations and insights and to be able to make fact-based decisions. Data in digital supply chain is not an expense. It's not an evil necessity. In reality, digital supply chains are faster, they're more responsive, and they drive a better business outcome. They use technology such as GPS tracking, RFID, smart signals and smart labels, and artificial intelligence. It's just some of the technologies inside the technology portfolio.
Thanks so much for that explanation, Sean. Ariel, my next question is for you. Across industries, organizations are accelerating digital transformation for growth and profitability. According to an industry analyst, 63% of leading organizations report increased funding for digital transformation projects. Ariel, what are digital challenges for your customers?
Maureen, customers using traditional supply chain technologies often struggle with making accurate decisions in a timely way with the correct data. The problem with the traditional models is the focus inside the four walls of an enterprise. Let me give you some examples. With a traditional planning model, data is sourced and stored within the four walls. Parameters such as lead times, for example, are set once and rarely challenged again. With a traditional planning model, the supply chain actors exist within the four walls. internal demand planners and logistic teams, for example. Collaboration is really whiteboard-centric. With a traditional planning model, the applications and databases reside within the four walls of the IT department. This limits really the ability to share and source externally. But with digital supply chains, it helps our customer to mitigate these limitations. It helps to address the major challenges to accurate and timely planning decision making. With a digital planning model, data is sourced globally. Digitalization used advanced connectivity in the cloud to leverage data from more sources, internal and external to the organization, but also more frequently enabling planners to make the right decision at the right time. Digital technologies also reduce planned error due to poor quality data. Machine learning is able to identify and adjust rogue data. With a digital planning model, the design may be dynamically updated. Digital supply chain models are living within things that continuously adapt using machine learning and IoT connectivity to enhance the quality of the planning decision. Digital models make a better real-world representation. With a digital planning model, the actors may be internal or external, but also they can be human or machine. Digitalization used intelligent collaboration techniques to identify processes, risk, alert, and facilitate finally the resolution using social media type experiences. Digitalization includes natural language and conversational analytics to ensure the right data is available at the fingertips of the decision makers.
So, in summary, with a good digital planning model, supply chains become more responsive, more agile, and enable planners to make better decisions and respond to disruptive events. Is that right?
Exactly, Marie. A very good summary.
Sean, my next question's for you. Many industries have experienced unprecedented changes over the past year. The adoption or not of agile planning technologies was the difference between those that survived and those that struggled. Gartner research shows that 87% of supply chain professionals want to invest to make their supply chain more agile. So, as an expert, how would you define agile planning, supply chain planning, and why has agile planning recently raised the interest of these top executives?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, supply chain agility, simply put, is an organization's ability to anticipate and respond rapidly to unforeseen disruption in their supply chain without compromising profitability, service, or quality. And you're right, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, and it's on right in the middle of the radar of a lot of top executives globally. In the Harvard Business Review article from Howard Lee titled The AAA Supply Chain, he wrote that great companies create great supply chains that respond to sudden and unexpected changes in the markets. And he went on to say that agility is critical because for almost all industries, we are seeing fluctuating demand and supply more rapidly and of a larger scale. Not only that if you look at some of the activity happening in some of the largest worldwide consumer goods companies, Procter & Gamble and Unilever and Nestle, and their chief supply chain officers are very active and vocal about their supply chain agility strategies. It's a very, very important part of the next few years. And one of the key reasons is that agility acts like a navigator. It's like a GPS. It helps you navigate through disruption. It's able to identify changes to current events. It's able to anticipate and predict potential changes and then allow you to be able to chart a course through these disruptive waters.
So agile planning is important for businesses, but Ariel, what would you say is actually possible today?
Marine, modern day agile planning is really extremely capable. It combines the best of supply chain technologies. Firstly, end-to-end supply chain visibility enables manufacturers to continually react to unforeseen changes anywhere across the supply chain network, in demand, distribution, production, supply. A core capability of Agile planning is scenario management. This enables planners to rapidly engage scenario analysis on the fly to determine the impact of potential events and propose an alternative course of action. When analyzing scenarios, planners must balance operational metrics against financial metrics, but also against risk. Agile planning needs to quantify and measure risk across the supply chain and facilitate mitigation strategies. The speed of Agile planning requires an enhanced level of collaboration. Plans, scenarios, tasks, and risks need to be socialized through cross-functional stakeholders, from marketing to sales to distribution to manufacturing to procurement to even product engineering and to finance. Social-like collaboration harnesses the human intelligence hidden in the experience of supply chain stakeholders. But more important, these capabilities are today available on the cloud to simplify technical adoption and reduce both upfront costs and total cost of ownership. Also, public clouds such as Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure provide a comprehensive digital ecosystem with features such as data storage, machine learning or analytics, and of course connectivity. Public cloud offers customer high availability and leading-edge security, protecting your data assets from ransomware and more generally from any other forms of digital attacks. The public cloud brings digital supply chain technology within the reach of all manufacturers and is a crucial stepping stone to achieve real supply chain agility.
So Sean, supply chain agility is one of the biggest things to impact the future of the supply chain world. From your point of view, what are the biggest challenges of the future supply chain?
And the future of supply chain, it's a great question. If you'd asked me that in 2019, I probably would have given you a very different answer. The truth is the pandemic has forced manufacturers to refocus and to reset their objectives. The year 2020 was a year of lessons learned in supply chain. And not everything changed. I mean, there still is a strong focus on margin and growth, but no longer at the expense of unmitigated supply chain risk. Risk plays a part in a lot of our assessment strategies in supply chain now. Going forward in the future, there's a large number of changes or challenges that practitioners will have. One will be talent, access to talent. Now, post-pandemic, people are more transient. We can no longer afford to rely on long-term in-house expertise, even for complex tasks. And we are going to find ourselves perhaps outsourcing more in short-term for short-term expertise. Some people refer to this as the gig economy. And the gig economy is not purely just for expertise. It's very much also for operations. We'll find ourselves using it for warehousing via DHL or for distribution via Uber Freight. Remember that the gig economy, it's very different to traditional outsourcing. Outsourcing is having a known capacity that is allocated. Gig economy is purely based on opportunistic capacity. This will change the way supply chain planning technology works because models will need to be more flexible. They can't be so rigid anymore. The collaboration between a larger number of stakeholders and connectivity will need to occur. However, talking about the future, the biggest thing for me will be the environment, sustainability. We're already seeing the rising prominence of CSR, corporate social responsibility disclosures. And that's going to focus more of the light on supply chain sustainability. And for me, I think that's going to come to supply chain circularity or the circular economy. In 2029, it was written the only economy will be the circular economy. And I've actually found myself agreeing with that statement more and more when I look at the number of independent forces that are pushing us towards circularity. We have rising commodity prices. We have scarcity of raw materials, which will push manufacturers to try and reclaim some of those from end-of-life products. We've got rising consumer preferences where people want to buy a green product. They want to buy a bio product. They don't want to buy a first-use plastic product. And we're going to end up with more regulatory controls regarding the right to repair and these sorts of things as well. But remember, circularity doesn't happen to an individual manufacturer. Circularity happens to a demand and supply network. And again, this will challenge technology to come up with the ability to optimize at a network level and to be able to collaborate with different types of actors, even actors that are potentially outside of your more traditional supply chain. One of the other key lessons learned from 2020 was resiliency. We can no longer afford just to have supply chain visibility that ends at the loading bay. We need to be able to look across our supply chain from raw material to consumer, and we need to be able to identify the points of risk in that supply chain. And where there is a point of risk, we need to be able to build in resiliency and i.e. build in redundancy. This will also challenge technology a lot more as well.
Indeed, Sean, the digitalization of supply chain is really a long journey, and we have some way to go. We will continue to see opportunities from emerging technologies. We are yet to see the mainstream adoption of blockchain or other form of distributed ledger technology, but maybe we will never see it. We should expect the adoption of the 5G communication and the advancement of quantum computing will have a game-changing impact on supply chain.
We are evolving from traditional supply chains to agile, connected, digital, and sustainable supply chains. How would you say that this manifests itself at QAD DynaSys, Ariel?
Thank you, Marine, for this question. In 2021, a supply chain is no longer a cost center to serve operations. Supply chain is a point of competitive differentiation. It drives growth and margin. It minimizes risk and provides a clear path to navigate even the most black swan of disruption. At QAD DynaSys, we have been committed to supply chain planning excellence since 1985. We have developed some fantastic features to support and anticipate our customers' future needs. But market perspectives are rapidly changing. We need to go quicker. Our solutions need to provide value faster. QAD DynaSys is uniquely positioned to deliver the next generation of digital supply chain planning technology. The digitalization of supply chain brings immense capabilities. We are living in the era of the democratization of the digital technologies. I really believe that digital supply chain planning can be available to any manufacturer without major investment and no disruption. At QAD DynaSys, our raison d'être is to provide a supply chain planning experience that evolves with the customers. An experience that scales in the cloud as they grow. And supply chain planning experience that anticipates the customer needs and dynamically adapts the planning model. In much the same way that, for example, Netflix can suggest a movie based on learned experiences. Our vision is to provide a preemptive planning solution that suggests where and how planner intervention is required, and equally where it is not.
That's a great segue to our next panel discussion. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for joining me today and sharing your vision on the future of supply chains.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks, Maureen. You're welcome.
Everyone else, please stay tuned.
Geopolitical, environmental, and pandemic-related events of recent years have taught us that supply chain disruption is the new normal. Traditional linear supply chain models need deep transformation. Supply chain planning technologies have become a competitive weapon in our modern disruptive world. QAD DynaSys provides a unique digital supply chain planning platform that lets companies analyze, compare, and make informed decisions with confidence. As digitalization continues to disrupt, supply chain technology must be hyper-connected and automated. It needs to produce actionable business insights that promote the value of the enterprise and ensure business continuity. QAD DynaSys Advanced Analytics digests millions of data points capturing outliers, trends, and step changes to help you make smarter, fact-based decisions in real time. Artificial intelligence is now a crucial part of a comprehensive digital transformation strategy. As many companies gain access to new data sources, they have an opportunity to leverage the new added value. QAD DynaSys offers sophisticated forecast modeling powered by machine learning to improve overall supply chain performance. Your company needs to rapidly respond to internal and external business changes by running multiple scenarios in real time to analyze and anticipate the impacts of potential supply chain disruptions. With QAD DynaSys Agile Supply Chain Planning Platform, you can collaboratively explore, share, and validate the best alternative, aligned with your corporate goals and strategies. A connected end-to-end supply chain aims to provide comprehensive visibility and a shared view for all stakeholders. Users can identify and mitigate risks and exploit opportunities. Companies across a wide range of industries have chosen QAD DynaSys cloud-based solution to ensure gains in agility and visibility across their entire business. Make smarter, faster, and more secure decisions for your business with next-generation digital supply chain planning. Let's build the future of your supply chain together.
In the previous session, we covered with Ariel and Sean the future of agile, connected, digital, and sustainable supply chains. Let's now focus on what's next. To kick off this panel discussion, I have invited the QAD DynaSys Senior Product Management Team. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Maureen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm joined first by Jean-Luc. He has worked at QAD DynaSys for more than 20 years and is responsible for R&D and support and aims to create an overall excellent customer experience. Jean-Luc, your focus is to deliver added values through new features of the QAD DynaSys solutions. You enjoy playing tennis with your family members in your free time, but also do so individually and in team competitions. Next with me is Juliette. She's joined DynaSys around 8 years ago after many years in inventory planning. She now helps customers discover the new features of DynaSys solutions with documentation and training material. In her free time, she enjoys hiking in the Strasbourg area and plays the clarinet in her local orchestra. Sean, you need no introduction. We already know that you're passionate about supply chain planning and new technologies, but also enjoy golf and Australian football.
I try.
Juliette, my first question is going to be for you. I understand that you're really close to your customers. What are the challenges and need for digital supply chain planning today for your customers, both now and for tomorrow?
Well, first of all, now supply chains are bigger and bigger. They're often global. So customers need a solution to access the data from anywhere and anytime. They're looking for a solution which is intuitive, user-friendly, not only because it is good-looking, but most of all because it is essential for user adoption, to have people use it and like it. Those people should have a single unique set of data to work on, to collaborate with, to get a consensus. Of course, the numbers must be up to date. That is what demand sensing is about, to be able to detect changes in demand or in constraints, to be able to react quickly, to adapt the plan. But the volume of data is huge, so the planning solution must provide an overview of the current situation with alerts and priorities to focus on, to help the planners. And in the end, the plan calculated by the solution must be realistic and feasible. Otherwise, it will not be executed at the shop floor level. This is why all stakeholders, including finance, need to see indicators to make sure that the plan is aligned with both business and financial objectives.
Sounds like a long wish list, but in my opinion, all of those shape a solution that will actually be used and most importantly, will be useful.
Exactly, Maureen.
As I understand, technology is playing a key role in everything we're doing today. Jean-Luc, what specific technology is supporting digital supply chain planning right now?
Nowadays, technology is everywhere. It was mentioned I'm playing tennis. I bring with me my connected racket. So as you can see, this racket is connected. And with my connected racket, I know, for instance, the number of backhand or forehand shot I do. I can use it in order to take advantages of the playground I play with, the players, maybe also the weather. With that racket, it's possible to collect data, to compare the player together, to benchmark, to find correlation.
Okay, but what about technologies in digital supply chains?
My racket is a connected thing within the Internet of Things. With digital supply chain, instead of rackets, there are connected sensors that capture the flow of goods and material capacities and actual inventories. Information is collected to update data lakes or contribute to big data. On one side, the data and the collection of the data is important, of course, but on the other side, using this data in an effective way is the key. We need facts, tangible facts, real-time collection, and ability to use this data in an intelligent way to extract insightful decisions. Leveraging data to generate fact-based decisions is the end game. This is possible thanks to new hardware and software capabilities available in the cloud. Digital supply chain planning uses a plethora of technology to present fact-based decisions to the planning stakeholders. This includes machine learning, embedded analytics, optimization engine, and digital twins. The planner accesses the planning solution from any web browser or with the DynaSys mobile application.
Thank you so much, Jean-Luc. Let's now focus on the new QAD DynaSys DSCP 2021 release. As we already know, the DSCP acronym stands for Digital Supply Chain Planning. Isn't that right, Juliette?
Yeah, Maria, you're right. Last year, we decided to change the name of our solution from Demand and Supply Chain Planning to Digital Supply Chain Planning, as we entered a new digital era at QAD DynaSys.
So how does this new release support digital supply chain planning?
Well, the DSCP solution is already a proven supply chain planning tool. But supply chains evolve, customers evolve, so we evolve too. The biggest part of the new capabilities we introduce in the solution derive from the market study and from project experience. We understand our customers, we try to provide them what will help them best in their today's and tomorrow's challenges. That's why in DSCP 2021, we introduced financial planning to involve all stakeholders in the company, even outside the pure supply chain, and enable them to discuss over the same set of data, each one with indicators that are relevant to them. There are a full bunch of standard financial indicators. They are plugged to the plans to make sure that the projection is aligned with the objectives. We also developed scenario management features. With a new scenario dimension, for each plan you can make different assumptions and simulation. You can compare them side by side, assess the risk, including the impact on cash flow and working capital requirements. And finally, you decide which scenario is the best and you publish it as the new baseline for operational planning. But to my opinion, the greatest headline in the newest release is the promotion planning and promotion scheduling capability. Within QAD DynaSys DSCP, you can now define, create, manage all your promotional events from conception to execution in a very visual, user-friendly, interactive calendar. And of course, since a long time now, we support our customers in their digital transformation with a fully cloud-effective solution.
Thanks so much, Juliette. As Ariel mentioned earlier, the digitalization of supply chains is a continuous journey. Although QAD DynaSys has brought comprehensive digital supply chain capabilities to the market, there appears to be a lot of opportunity to extend and refine digital planning. Sean, can you give us an idea of what's on the product roadmap?
We have a very exciting product roadmap for the DynaSys DSCP. One of the first items I want to talk about is adaptive planning using the digital twin. Now, a digital twin is of anything. It's just a real-time virtual representation of the physical object. Okay, you could have one of your car, for example. Now, adaptive planning uses supply chain digital twins to automatically and continuously analyze, predict, and tune the supply chain model parameters using real observed data. Now, adaptive planning improves lead times, run rates, capacities, and production yields based on real data. Example, a supplier has a contractual lead time of 7 days. But in reality, they deliver in 3 days during the summer and 11 days in winter. Now, if the adaptive digital twin can adjust the raw material inventory buffers so automatically to reflect real life. Now, this has significant benefits. It can reduce inventory, it can improve service levels, and makes the plan overall more accurate. Okay, more accurate, and the planning model essentially becomes a living thing that evolves to reflect current reality. The headline of our roadmap is the continuous improvement ecosystem. Now, digital supply chains deliver a nexus of perfect technology. We have the cloud with connected communities. We have machine learning, artificial intelligence techniques using deep learning. And all of this can give us very strong pattern matching across huge volumes of rich data. Now, what our vision is to take this and to turn it into a learning ecosystem, a system that can profile your planning environment to similar ones and make suggestions regarding planning techniques or business processes. For example, if there's a majority of planners in the community matching your profile and they're all using a specific planning technique, let's say, for example, daily forecast consumption, then the system may suggest this planning technique to you. It will say, hey, not just here is the new technique. If you take this technique, it will engage using it. It will give you the benefit based upon the benefit it gave to others in the community. If this technique requires additional data points, then the system can enable the data connectors to bring that data point into the system. You don't need IT expertise or super users. The continuous improvement ecosystems will also extend to business processes. There may be a required step or an obsolete step in your planning process. Perhaps there's a forecast collaboration task that consistently introduces forecast error into the process. The system will identify that and will suggest eliminating this step from your process. The end result is a simple to use, self-maintaining learning environment. It is our planning utopia and something which is at the core of our product vision.
Sean, thank you so much for sharing the QAD DynaSys product vision. Let's get back to the topic of emerging technologies. Jean-Luc, what is your vision for future and emerging technologies, and what are the added values that they'll have for QAD DynaSys customers?
It has been mentioned several times today. We are in an exciting period of time, embracing the perfect technology storm. QAD DynaSys, with many years of providing cloud solution, is well positioned to extend the public and native software capabilities as part of its DSCP solution. A public cloud brings added value as each ring of the chain is highly specialized but strongly linked to the other. So, the future for digital supply chain solution is public and native cloud oriented. Let me give you 3 examples of native cloud technologies at QAD DynaSys among many others. Google Maps API first. They are used today in DSCP to visualize and interact on a map product distribution flows. In the past, an in-house graphical user interface was created by the team. But now, for almost 4 years, it's a simple embedded service based on native cloud technology. Today, our machine learning, and that's another example, is using our private QAD cloud. This is great, but in the future, using Amazon Web Services and technologies such as SageMaker, it will bring new capability with highly optimized resources that could be shared and reduce the amount of time required to process. User experience is evolving, including natural language processing to ask about search or provide short or key information through personal assistant like Google Home or Alexa is one of the extensions that will be added to professional software too. Part of this, new kind of social collaboration bots will answer simple questions or manage non-added value tasks using robotic process automation. This free up time for real challenging problems by supply chain planning stakeholders that will resolve them.
Okay, but what type of data does a connected supply chain planning system leverage in the cloud?
Let me recall the example of my connected racket. My data and my personal statistics are interesting for me, of course, but even more interesting for the community.
What do you mean? How is your data interesting for the community?
Manufacturers can discover possible improvements for their rackets or other equipment. And if the data collected becomes real-time and ultra-connected, the racket will populate data to a global ecosystem. It brings an exponential quantity of potential added value. It should not be seen as a risk of competition, but as an opportunity of bringing the game or the business at a higher level of maturity.
So it really goes back to what we hear all the time. Data is the fuel and digitalization is the engine.
Yes, exactly.
But how does that link back to supply chains?
The point is that data should no longer be considered as individual or private. We all collectively win if the flow of data is widely shared. The benefits of leveraging the power of community data to supply chain planning is stronger connectivity, access to benchmarking data, and improved collaboration to achieve a higher level of efficiency in a more sustainable ecosystem. Of course, sensitive data needs to still be sensitive, but sharing some of them will be helpful for every player.
Well, Jean-Luc, it doesn't look like you need a tennis teacher at all anymore with your connected racket.
Yes, probably not.
Thank you all so much for joining me and for sharing your vision of the digital supply chain planning, the challenges and needs for your customers, available technologies, the great features of QAD DynaSys has developed in their DSCP 2021 release, and your plans for the future. Let's now hear from one of our loyal customers with Essilor, and I'm joined by David Bourgoin, their S&OP referential supervisor. This interview has been pre-recorded as David couldn't join us today. Hello, everybody. I would like to thank and welcome David Bourgoin from Essilor for sharing his experience for digital supply chain planning today. Hi, David.
Hi, Marin.
Thanks so much for joining me today. We're really excited to hear from you and your organization. So do you think, to start off, you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, your role as Global S&OP Supervisor, and then Essilor as a company?
Sure. Thank you, Marin, and hello, everybody. My name is David Bourgoin, and I am in charge of the monthly S&OP process for Essilor for 10 years now. Essilor is a world leader of ophthalmic lenses, and since end of 2018, Essilor merged with Luxottica, the world leader of luxury and sports eyewear. We are now the group Essilor Luxottica. But before going into more detail, let me share this video introduction of the Essilor organization. Essilor strategy is guided by our mission of improving lives by improving sight. Like seen in this short video, innovation and partnerships are the cornerstone of our growth. From a S&OP perspective, this means to be able to quickly simulate product phase in and phase out. Innovation gives us a bit more than 250 new products per year, and we invest every year more than $200 billion for the research and innovation. As well, we need to be agile, lean, and digital enough to integrate the new partnerships in our S&OP processes and in our tools. Since the last 5 years, we have integrated around 130 new partnerships around the world.
As you can see, I'm a loyal wearer of Essilor lenses myself, David. Do you think you could tell us a little bit more about Essilor's supply chain organization?
Definitely, Marine. Essilor has a complex distribution network with more than 700 stock locations. I will try to make it simple using the concept of route to market. This concept helps us to manage our end-to-end S&OP process. We have more than 3,000 possible routes to market within our organization. Each route starts with one of our 32 manufacturing plants where we produce either finished or semi-finished lenses. The finished lenses are shipped to distribution center, and we have 14 major DCs worldwide. The semi-finished lenses are then shipped to one of our 490 RX labs, prescription labs, where they are finished based on our customer prescription and needs. The other end of the route to market is the market, composed of customers, opticians, retailers, and e-shop for e-commerce. We count more than 300,000 end customers located in more than 100 countries.
Wow, that really is an impressive route to market depiction. So what would you say your supply chain main challenges were during the pandemic, and what were their impacts on your supply chain?
Well, during the pandemic, our biggest challenge was the business continuity plan. So we had to adapt our supply chain to still deliver customers and minimize the impact. So to ensure the continuity of service, as soon as we have assessed the consequences of the measures taken in China, such as the lockdown and the Chinese New Year shutdown continuation in early 2020, we started to explore what could be the possible backup in terms of production. In our case, we moved some Chinese products to Laos and to some European plants. But the pandemic started to extend from China to Europe and later to the Americas. So what was transferred to Europe had to move elsewhere. So immediately, we looked at all potential backups and what could be launched as quick as possible in terms of alternatives production. Later, China finally reopened the production, but major markets, US and Europe, for instance, were running slow due to the different lockdowns. So we had to slow down the production pace in China. Actually, during the first months of the COVID crisis, we consistently had to give very precise instruction on production priorities, shipping priorities. So the goal with production restart was not to produce too much of the wrong but not produce too much to the wrong inventory. This supply chain team was playing a key interface role between Essilor customers, base plant, and partners. So we have consistently played with the route to market to adapt the distribution.
So seeing as you had to adapt your production plans very quickly, what processes did you review or put in place during the crisis to have a more agile and resilient supply chain?
Well, that's a very good question, Marine. In a normal situation, we currently use QAD DynaSys solutions at the technical level. But in such a case, with the different lockdowns worldwide, either for our markets, for factories, or for some customs, we had to move to more fast and agile simulation tools. So we decided to put in place shared indicators via Google Sheets. Our extended supply chain has been reduced to the ends of our routes, actually. So on one end, we have markets. Zones demands management team entered the volumes with different what-if scenario in several spreadsheets. With what if we lost 30% or 40% or even 50% of the sales versus 2019. On the other hand, we have the plants, and plant managers were asked to enter every Monday what production lines will be locked and which one can be reopened. So they enter numbers of days per week, possible lenses launch per day, number of operators available, stuff like this.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you've moved from a tactical level to a more operational level throughout all of these supply chain disruptions. So I can imagine your S&OP processes needed to also adapt during the pandemic?
Yes, so like I said before, our biggest challenge was the business continuity plan. Because to secure the service, we had to be very, very reactive. So we were managing the risk and the what-if scenario in real time, if I can say, in an operational way of planning. So our monthly S&OP turned into a weekly S&OP. This lasted 3 months, during which the Western countries were entering in lockdown, one after another, whereas the Eastern ones were coming back.
Okay, so like a lot of manufacturers, the standard S&OP processes needed to adapt to meet the needs of the pandemic. What would you say, how things are today, and how have they changed?
Well, I would say that when we came back to more stability, we moved back to our tactical planning S&OP with the QAD DynaSys solutions. Today, we are still facing some challenges, for example, on raw materials. So this is something never encountered before at worldwide level. The worldwide market acceleration in early 2021 stressed all suppliers, and some couldn't accelerate as fast as needed. And even some suppliers were still on lockdown due to the COVID. So these difficult events allowed us to extend our S&OP with the material procurement department, which is now a strength for us.
Okay, so that means you've included sourcing and procurement departments within your global S&OP meetings?
Yes, definitely. This close collaboration with the sourcing and procurement department during the pandemic give us ideas to build stronger relationship to secure our supply chain. And soon, we now think about synergies with sourcing and procurement, and as well with the R&D to optimize our ecological impacts by recycling wastes.
Great. A lot of manufacturers have decided or are thinking about relocating part of their production post-pandemic. Where does Essilor stand with this? Are there any plans to relocate production?
So these are plans that are definitely in progress. Today, we are working on the midterm plan for budget preparation for the 2022 to 2025 period. So we are investing to increase capacities with several targets. Follow market growth, develop more agile production network, and of course, relocate as much as possible.
Great. Let's get back to digitalization. David, do you think you could tell me a little bit more about the digital transformation of Essilor?
Yes, sure, I would be happy to. So actually in my role, I'm more focused on the upstream part of the supply chain, the manufacturing part, actually. Today, we are very focused on the digitalization of the S&OP execution. We want to have a leaner, integrated, and CO2-friendly network. So this supposed common tools, processes, and the web accessible indicators. We have a project for having plants, RX labs, and any partnerships integrating in the same database to extend the supply chain execution. And also a second project is to control the distribution ecological footprint for our auto market. So we want to measure the environmental impact, in terms of CO2 when choosing a route to market. Another digitalization concerns our planning processes, training, and support. So with the pandemic, we are traveling less and less, of course, and a lot of people work from home. So before, I was used to move 5 to 6 weeks a year in Asia or in US. So now, with the situation we are facing now, we have decided to accelerate the digitalization of our training documentation and to launch a classroom training platform.
That's a significant change from before. So as you said, a lot of people were and still are working from home today. What about e-commerce platforms? Does Essilor have a developed web platform? And if so, do you think you could tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, sure. So yes, so after speaking about supply chain, now I can say a few words on our marketing and R&D, where digitalization is most creative. Essilor is working on different digitalization programs. The first one is e-commerce. Since 2014, we develop our e-commerce platform, such as with iBuy Direct, by helping customers in their online choices. We develop capacities and competencies. We create brand.com online shops such as Ray-Ban.com. In fact, e-commerce is one of the key competitive advantages to widen our leadership. Another project is for eye care professionals and consumers. So we are developing a digital applications called Essilor Companion that facilitates and simplifies the sales and lens consultation process. And last but not least, Luxottica is closely working with Google to develop connecting eyewear, the smart glasses. I invite you to search about this new techno on the web.
That sounds great. So pretty soon I'll be able to order my new Essilor lenses from home. So from what I understood, you've been a QAD DynaSys customer for almost 32 years now. What are the key benefits that you get from a digital supply chain planning solution today?
Yes, 32 years now, yes. Thanks to Precise. So, like I said before, we are building an end-to-end supply chain planning and execution. So, also to stimulate synergies with other departments such as marketing, sourcing and procurement, we need a centralized, web-accessible database and tools. So, thanks to our collaborative platforms, all worldwide supply chain entities can connect, simulate, and talk to each other worldwide to build efficient master plans. Also, since the 10 past years working on the new DSCP platform, we have a more robust and reactive global S&OP. We moved from 10 factories in constrained capacity planning with 2 to 3 months to make decision to now 16 factories in a 3 weeks planning process. So we increased the scope and we save up to 2 months decision-making phase. And as well, in terms of inventory control, the QAD DynaSys solution allows us to save 0.2 months of coverage every year since the last 10 years, while improving our customer services. So this represents millions in stock and cash flow saved. Last but not least, we have accelerated the phase-in, phase-out process. So we can simulate now new product introduction up to 6 months in advance. Additionally, we can simulate manufacturing investments, plant closure, and flow change to validate the best possible scenarios.
That's incredible. I know you all moved to the QAD DynaSys cloud in 2018. What would you say from your point of view and within your role at Essilor are the benefits of a cloud-based solution?
So with the QAD DynaSys Cloud 2018 release, we have a more fluid and quick centralized support. So it avoids stress for Asian and US S&OP administrators, so they don't have to wait for the French admin to wake up. So as well, it improves the calculation and data treatment. It's faster than with our previous on-premise solutions.
David, you also mentioned earlier that Essilor is working on relocation, CO2-friendly networks, and reducing ecological impacts. What about sustainability? Is that a strong initiative within the company? And if so, what have you put in place or are planning to put in place with regards to that?
Well, sustainability is definitely an important part of the company's strategy. Actually, our position as a global leader encourages to lead the way for sustainable development. We have seen that our customers' expectations about our performance on sustainability matters are higher than before, giving us a competitive advantage. So at the operation level, For a few years now, Essilor has committed to reduce its environment impact through three main pillars: energy, water, and waste. As you know, water is becoming scarce in many places around the globe. So we put emphasis on water reduction. And since 2015, we have succeeded in reducing the water consumption in our manufacturing process by close to 25%. We are now stepping into the effort of reduction of our waste and energy consumption. So regarding energy, we have many programs to reduce consumption in our processes. And in the waste front, swarf and materials consumptions are one of our main challenges. We put efforts on reducing the material consumption from the semi-finished to the end product. Also, we work with partners on how to reuse the swarf. We are closely working with the R&D teams on breakthrough technology for the long term. At S&OP process level, to meet with our roadmaps towards carbon neutrality, we will adapt to take into account the CO2 impact. So like I said previously, we will challenge our route to market on sourcing processes for a sustainability perspective.
Wow, thanks, David. Those are some really great initiatives for our planet. Do you have a few last words to conclude and about your vision of the future of digital supply chain planning for Essilor?
Sure, Marine. So I will do my best to answer this question. Working towards our mission of improving lives by improving sight encourages us to lead the way for a more digital, agile, and sustainable supply chain, of course. Digital, for me, actually, the merge with Luxottica, our extension for partnerships, the synergies with our other departments, forced us to have online tools and databases accessible from any place worldwide. We have to meet with our supply chain increasing scope while keeping reactivity, and as well with the COVID crisis, we understood how important it is to strengthen our supply chain collaboration internally, but as well externally. From an agile point of view, with the last events the world faced, I remember they were given boats stuck in the Suez Canal, the more numerous fires and storms the Earth had the past years, and the pandemics. So we need to be able to quickly run on a world basis what-if simulation processes to anticipate or to respond to those disruptive events. And the third point, the sustainability. After decades producing, consuming, traveling without looking forward to the planet's resources and environments, we are, and this is my point of view, we are liable for the new generation of reversing this trend. Global warming and planet resourcing management should now be the heart of our company's decision. We now need tools, processes, and again, what-if scenario to limit our ecological impacts and move towards carbon neutrality. And for me, this COVID crisis will certainly be a marker in our history to more responsible choices for new generation.
I certainly hope so too. Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing your Essilor experience, not only during the pandemic, but also your vision of future supply chain planning. It's digital, agile, connected, and of course, sustainable.
Thank you, Marie. It was a pleasure for me to interact with you today on those questions and challenges.
Thanks again so much, David. Take care.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed hearing from our digital supply chain experts. Before closing the QAD DynaSys NeXt conference, I would like to share with you a new tool we've put in place. It's the Diagnostic, and it will help you assess where your digital supply chain capabilities stand today and prioritize improvements in the future. It will be immediately available at the end of the session in your inbox. Thanks again so much. Take care of yourself and, most importantly, of your supply chain. We'll see you soon.